Hey, what's going on? It's Teel, and this is another episode of Wild that I just learned about. And I wore the bluest shirt I could find because today we're talking about the ocean. Let's get into it. Have you ever heard someone say that we know more about space than we do the ocean? I know I have, and I have personally said it without researching it on my podcast several times. So I was sitting around, I was like, okay, maybe this is a good topic to do a little deep dive into and figure out if that's actually true and make sure I'm not lying to the internet. So here's what I found. When it comes to space, we have mapped out pretty much 100% of the observable universe using telescopes, rovers, satellites. When it comes to the ocean, on the other hand, we have only mapped out 23.4% of the ocean floor in high definition. So 100% of the observable universe, 23.4% of the ocean. Let's dive deeper. It really is the pressure because, when I think of space travel and leaving the Earth and being so far away, and there are these telescopes that look light years and hundreds of millions of miles away, that seems like that should be more difficult. It's mind-blowing. We have mapped out more of Mars than our own ocean floor. Mars is like 60 million miles away. I can drive 5 hours to Galveston and at least get to a Gulf. Not only do we not know about much of the ocean floor, it's estimated that 91% of marine species are not even discovered yet. So back to the challenges of the ocean. At depths like the Challenger's Deep, which is 36,000 feet deep, the pressure is more than 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. This makes designing equipment and vehicles that can withstand such conditions a major engineering challenge. As we saw from the tragic event that happened with the Titan, when the people from OceanGate went in the submersible and tried to go see the Titanic, you saw what happened. The pressure popped them like a soda can. As sad as that event is, it just shows the difficulty and the severity of attempting to even go deep into the ocean. Another thing is the darkness. Sunlight penetrates only 200 meters down into the ocean. That's 656 feet down. As we said at Challenger's Deep, it's almost 36,000 feet deep. That's a big difference. So the light is cutting off at 600 feet and the bottom of the ocean is 36,000 feet deep at the deepest point. I don't think we can imagine how pitch black dark it is at the bottom of the ocean. On our last cruise, we went to an awesome underground cave called the Rio Secreto. It's the Secret River. It's so cool. It's this big giant cave and you explore for over an hour and you've got your headlamps. Well, they take you to this back part of the cave and you get in this freezing cold water and you're about chest deep. They have everybody turn off their headlamps at once and it's completely and totally pitch black. It was an amazing experience, kind of scary. You put all that together and it's spelling out that the ocean is unbelievably scary at the depths. Another thing is the corrosive environment like we were talking about earlier. Saltwater is highly corrosive, which complicates the construction of equipment and vehicles. There are things like underwater volcanoes, canyons, and even entire lakes. There's something called a brine pool, which is a lake inside of the ocean, like under the ocean, where something about the salinity of the water changes. And I'm not a marine biologist. There's a lake in the ocean, trust me. But what's wild is that there is a lot of sea life that still exists in this crazy environment that I've been describing. There's tons of weird fish and organisms and all kind of things growing in this pitch black, pressurized, corrosive environment that is down there. Think of the deep sea anglerfish. That's the fish that we all seen that has the little teal on top of its head that it uses to distract its prey. And then bam, it gets you. One of those anglerfish grows to be 7 feet tall. If somehow you could get that low and you were in that dark, scary place, and that is the fish you ran into, I feel sorry for you because that looks like a bad day to me. I like the cruise. I like to be in the ocean. I like to swim in the ocean, but the ocean is a dangerous, scary place. And not to diminish the challenges of space discoveries at all. It just seems like we put more resources and money and time into solving that specific problem. And whether that's the right thing or not, I'm not entirely sure. But I think that we can say with a little bit of certainty that it definitely seems like we know more about space than the ocean. So I'm going to say that statement is true. Next topic. This next topic is truly wild, especially considering the implications. So you would think everything on Earth has to die, right? Everything in the universe eventually dies. Well, maybe. There is something called the Immortal Jellyfish. Is it truly immortal? Let's get into it. It's a species of jellyfish known for its unique ability to revert its cells to an earlier stage of life. This biological process is called transdifferentiation. This allows the jellyfish to potentially avoid death due to aging, but he can still get got. First of all, let's talk about its size and appearance. It is small. I'm talking about tiny, 4 to 5 millimeters. We're talking the thickness of a nickel. It is transparent with a bell-shaped body and bright red stomach visible through the bell. Looks like I need to put a picture right here. It begins as a larva before developing into a polyp. From the polyp stage, it develops into a free-swimming medusa, aka an adult jellyfish. When faced with stress, injury, or aging, it can revert from the medusa stage back to the polyp stage, starting the cycle anew. This is wild. Think about that. What if we were like that? When we experience stress, when we experience something that activated the anxiety in us or aging or whatever is getting us down, we could just revert back to when we were a kid and restart that process. They call it the immortal jellyfish because, unless something gets it, it can keep going back and keep going back and keep going back, essentially resetting its biological clock. A predator could still snatch you up, but it is biologically immortal in ideal conditions. So obviously scientists are interested in this, right? I'm interested in this. When I heard this, I was like, wow, I wonder if they could take that and somehow work that into some type of medicine or work that into some type of way that we could regenerate our own cells or maybe prolong our life. All throughout history, it seems like our lifespan has been growing. We've been on an upward chart. If they could make some type of discovery, this could be the key to unlocking that. Which makes me ask the question, if we could achieve immortality, should we? That's a deep question because there's a lot of facets that go into that. Are we meant to die? Is that really a part of the process? If we could get to the point where nature's not the thing that kills us, should we indulge? Should we take part in that? You might say, Joe, we're all supposed to die. And yes, I get that. But people were dying at 20, and then they were dying at 30, and then they were dying at 40. And then we made leaps and bounds, and now people die in their mid 70s. So what's the difference between in a couple years, people die at 100 or in 100 years, if people die at 200? I don't know. I don't want to get too far off on a side note. I think it's just interesting. I think something like an immortal jellyfish does open a lot of doors and opens a lot of questions about immortality itself. I think us as humans, we have this thing in us that sometimes feels like we will solve this whole death issue before it happens to us, right? And then we'll probably believe that all the way up until the last moment. And then we'll realize that it gets everybody. And it has so far. But who knows? Something like the immortal jellyfish might be the key. Pretty interesting stuff to me. I hope they keep studying it and I hope they figure it out. Next topic. This last topic is truly wild. I truly want to know because I had no idea this existed. Have you ever heard of this crazy thing that lives in the ocean? And it's called a goblin shark. Look, this might be the ugliest, besides maybe the anglerfish we were talking about earlier, this might be the ugliest sea creature I have ever laid my eyes on. This thing is ugly. The goblin shark is a fascinating and rare deep sea creature, often referred to as a living fossil due to its ancient lineage. Here's what makes the shark so unique. The goblin shark's long, flat snout is covered with electric receptors, helping it detect prey in the dark depths. So luckily, I'll never have no run-in with this shark because I'll never be that deep because I'm not getting on no submarine, submersible, any of that. I will never. There's a better chance of me shooting off into space on some Tesla rocket. 100%. I will get on a rocket before I get on a submarine. That's just what it is. Second thing about it is jaws. Its jaws can protrude dramatically to snatch prey, equipped with sharp, slender teeth, ideal for gripping soft-bodied animals. So it's swimming around in the dark, using electricity on its head. It has a horn. It has a horn. It's like a deep-sea dinosaur unicorn shark thing. I don't like it, but it's very interesting. Another thing, its color. Its translucent skin gives it a pinkish pale coloration as the blood vessels are visible beneath the surface. Ugh. Ugh. This is an ugly shark. The goblin shark. It has earned its name. Size. This is one thing. They get big. They get big as hell, which makes it everywhere. Anytime you have something scary and it's also big, it like amplifies it. Adults typically grow 10 to 13 feet and can weigh up to 460 pounds. This is a big, scary, ugly, nasty sea creature thing. Ugh. Like I said, luckily these things are like 330 feet down to what? What does it say? 4,300 feet beneath the surface. Stay down there. Stay away from my little dangling legs next time I go snorkeling, please. Goblin sharks are sluggish swimmers, relying on their stealth and sudden jaw extension to capture prey. This thing's got this super horn on its head and realizes that it doesn't even have to be an athlete. Believed to have evolved around 125 million years ago, the goblin shark represents one of the most primitive shark species, closely related to an extinct group called, yeah, dude, no, I'm not reading that. It's a long shark old word. Sorry. 125 million years ago. Holy crap. I always get weirded out by these big, humongous numbers. Or people say a billion years ago or a million years ago. I don't have no context. You know, I'm 30 years old. I don't understand that many years. I don't understand anything over like really 100 years. Maybe 200 or 300 years. I don't even really get 1,000, 10,000. I'm out of there for sure. Anything past that are just like these numbers. And then I process these numbers as like, long time ago. I'm not a marine biologist. I don't really know all that much about the ocean. I do like to study little things like this and then get on YouTube and talk about it. It's a lot of fun. One thing I think about this shark is that it must be efficient. If it's been down there all these years, sluggishly hunting unsuspecting fish, it must be good at what it does. And I think that's pretty wild. This has been another episode of Wild that I just learned about. I hope you are enjoying these. I'm going to keep making them if y'all don't like them or not, because I'm having fun learning and making these videos. It's a lot of fun. This is on the Joe Teel podcast channel. Go check out the podcast. It's cool, man. I interview creators and figure out what makes them so special, what makes their mind what it needed to be to get them to where they're at. I'll keep working hard to bring you this content so we can learn together, and I'll catch you back here later this week. Y'all be blessed.